Hello, sports fans, and welcome back to Sports on the Spot. My name is Willie Charger, and today I'll be joined by Nick James. Later on, Lenny and Ronnie, who are going to be giving us their lowdown and rundown on the sports world. Today, we're going to be talking the National Basketball Association. The NBA playoffs are starting to heat up as they get into the second round, and then, time permitting, spend some time talking about Major League Baseball. Nick, what was the big sports news for you over the weekend?
Willie, last week I was mentioning Julio Jones may be going to the Seahawks. That just seemed like the popular belief. Turns out he's with the Titans. That's exciting. If they can get him the ball enough over there with A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry, they're going to be a pretty high-powered offense. We've seen stacked teams like this before. I mean, he was just paired with Calvin Ridley, and he did just fine. So it'll be interesting to see if they can really work that play-action pass. It's going to be a really hard team to beat. What'd you notice, Willie?
Well, I noticed that my UCSB Gauchos got knocked out of the NCAA baseball playoffs over the weekend in the regional in Tucson against Arizona. The Gauchos knocked off Oklahoma State to advance to the finals against Arizona, but they just ran out of gas and in the end were sent back to the Santa Barbara. But at least they were on ESPN, so that was pretty cool. So for me, that was the big sports event. Before we go too much further, let's send it over to Lenny for his Lenny Lowdown. Take it away, Lenny.
Every time an elite pro athlete signs a lucrative contract, there's a kind of collective gasp, you know? When Patrick Mahomes signed with the Chiefs for $500 million, the outrage was just so predictable. OMG, he makes $2.5 million a game. How obscene. Really? Please, spare me. Let's take the shock and awe out of it and look at it analytically. You know, something's worth is really defined by what people are willing to pay for it. So compensation is the truest measure of worth. For example, in this job I'm doing right now, I'm paid exactly what I'm actually worth. Let's pick another job, teaching. The median salary of an elementary school teacher in the US is about $61,000. That's the value or worth our society has assigned to that profession. Now let's see how that stacks up against the worth of an athlete, using the NBA as an example. The average NBA salary is about $8.3 million a year, or roughly 136 times more than a teacher makes. One player, Stephen Curry, makes $43 million a year. One of my daughters is a first grade teacher, so I like teachers. Now, is Stephen Curry worth 900 times what my daughter is in terms of what she does for our society? Heck yes, the market has spoken. I love her and all that, but my daughter couldn't sink a three-pointer for the life of her, at least against a solid NBA defense. Sure, she can teach 20 snotty-nosed kids how to read and write and do mostly useless math or whatever. That's cute. But can she bring 20,000 fans to their feet? 900 of her couldn't do that. So if anything, based on worth, she should be paid a little bit less. And Stephen Curry, a lot more. And you know what? I think that's a slam dunk.
Well, thanks for that, Lenny. That was very, very interesting and very insightful, as usual. Nick, I want to talk a little bit about the NBA playoffs and put you a little bit on the spot today. I know I haven't done that lately. What was the biggest surprise for you over the weekend in the playoffs? The Lakers getting knocked out in the first round, the defending champs being sent home, or the Clippers pulling it off in a stunning 7-game win over the Dallas Mavericks?
I'm going to have to say the Lakers getting knocked out, even though I could have saw it coming with Anthony Davis being hurt and being arguably their most dominant force, even with LeBron James on the team. I expected the Clippers to go on, like I said last week. I had no doubt they'd be able to get it together. I think last year with the bubble and the first year they were together, the Clippers, that is, there was a few things they had to work through, and they're not the same Clippers as Lob City where they were blowing 3-1 leads. That was an anomaly last year. We were able to actually come down losing 2 games and come back and win 4 of the next 5 to make it on to the next one. So not surprised by that. Lakers, though, I mean, LeBron looked like he just gave up, and it was really interesting to see. He looked defeated. He looked like he quit on the team. And as a Clipper fan, I love it. It's going to be a really interesting Western series now with the Lakers out, because you have a lot of high-powered teams, but not a lot of star-powered teams outside of the Clippers, in my opinion.
The Clippers have been around for 50 years and never made it to the finals of the NBA. And for them to even advance to the NBA finals would be quite an achievement. I don't know if I'm quite ready to take the Clippers seriously just yet. Remember, they still have to get past a very tough Utah team that many are picking to win it all in the Western division. I'm happy for the Clippers. I'm happy for Tyrone Lue, their head coach, and Steve Ballmer, their owner. I like it when the owner's out there really cheering his team on and really getting involved in exactly. I love that. And of course, Kawhi Leonard, man, he stepped up and played like the old Kawhi Leonard of old. If he continues, who knows? I mean, the Clippers might upset Utah and make it all the way to the end of the get out of the West and make it to the finals. For me, I'd like to see that happen because historically it's never happened, and I think it'd be great for Clippers fans all over the world. What other teams do you think should or worthy to talk about in the NBA playoffs, Nick?
Well, I was really excited to see the Nets and Milwaukee because the Nets just seem like the clear favorite to come out of the East. I actually have the Bucks beating them despite the game 1 loss, even with Harden hurt in the first few minutes. I think Giannis is out for blood. He already revenge swept the Heat, and they're just going to – I think they got to be more strong. They got to be wanting it more than the Nets. The Nets feel like entitled. They're already thinking about the finals where Giannis is hungry now. I think him and his upgraded Bucks team from last year are going to figure out a way to at least get a few games, if not take the series. But other than that, like I said, it's kind of down to just those 2 series to me. With the Lakers out, it's just kind of like, Willie, could you even name 5 guys on the Jazz? Like it's not that exciting. Or the Nuggets. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens with those series.
We'll have to keep watching. Let's shift gears and talk a little bit about Major League Baseball. And we're going to talk about the National League West. Right now, we have 3 teams in the West that are the 3 hottest teams in baseball. I'm talking about the San Francisco Giants, the LA Dodgers, and the San Diego Padres. Nick, think about this. The Padres are 11 games over 500, and yet they're 2 games out of first place and sitting currently behind the Giants. Giants have 37 wins. Of course, Tampa Bay, American League, they have 38, but still, it's quite a race in the National League West. The Dodgers keep on winning, but they can't seem to make up any ground on the Giants and the Padres. What's your take on the National League West, Nick?
Well, the Giants are only ahead because they got those easy wins against the Dodgers in those last couple of weeks. And it's interesting because the Padres look like they're unstoppable, but then all of a sudden they're splitting the series this weekend. What happened against the Mets?
Well, the Mets are a first-place team. You got to remember that. They're a very, very good team. They split the series over the weekend in San Diego against the New York Mets. They won the first 2, and then they ended up losing Saturday. And yesterday, they got shut out by Jacob deGrom. Why did they lose yesterday? They're up against the toughest pitcher in the National League, deGrom, who actually lowered his ERA. It's now under 1, which is pretty phenomenal. The guy was throwing 102 miles an hour in the 7th inning, and the Padres just couldn't give him any hits, and they didn't score any runs. I think that's just one game, but they're going to have to win against the really top teams if they want to be considered one of the top teams. They have another chance against the National League East team. They play the Cubs next, so we'll keep an eye on that. Well, let's spend some time and switch it over to Ronnie for his Ronnie Rundown. Take it away, Ronnie.
Hey everybody, how you doing? We're back. We're talking sports. We're talking construction. I apologize for the noise in the background. Tony Tondolo got some of the union guys to come by, do some work at the house. They just got finished with their third coffee break so far in the morning. So everything's right on schedule. Job should get done in about 3-4 years. And we'll have some nice renovations going on here. So big time for sports. I mean, how much fun. NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. NHL playoffs don't get talked about enough. I mean, it's so exciting. Even if you don't even like hockey, got any skin in the game, it's so much fun to watch a hockey game. And I'm telling you, this is why you hedge your bets and you place those futures. I'm going to brag for a little bit. I got the Montreal Canadiens to win the Stanley Cup. I got the New York Islanders to win the Stanley Cup. They're both in the semis right now. You know I'm taking the other team to win the series, and I'm going to win either way. So either way, I'm walking away with a little bit of money, maybe more in some scenarios, but either way, I'm winning. That's the way to do it, I'm telling you. NBA playoffs, though, how about the Nets? My guy James Harden got injured, and the Nets are just still unstoppable. I kind of wasn't that excited about this team in the playoffs this year because it just seemed too easy. It was kind of boring. I was thinking, man, it's not the right way to win, you know? But luckily, well, I shouldn't say luckily. I don't want the guy to get injured, but luckily they're playing well. They're playing with a lot of heart, and the Nets just look amazing. And hopefully Harden does return because I really want it for the guy. I like James Harden a lot. And I know he wants to win. He's caught a bad rap. He's a little bit of a diva. You know, we talked about him down at the strip club, so hopefully, you know, none of that happens. But, yeah, loving the Nets. Clippers, Jazz, another great series. You know, fun to bet on. And like I said, even if you don't got any skin in the game, it's fun to bet on. So, you know, a lot going on. Baseball is great. Everybody's talking about doctoring the balls, foreign substances. I don't know. You know, who cares? So, you know, enjoy. It's a great time for sports, and we'll talk to you soon.
Great rundown, Ronnie. This week, we received somewhere under 50 viewer questions. But I'm going to pick a comment, not a question, from a viewer. His name is Jammer Jammies. Quite a mouthful. But you know what? He had quite a mouthful for us. Let me tell you what Jammer Jammies had to say. Willie Charger is rather SoCal biased. You might want to let him know there's a team in the Bay Area with 3 recent World Series titles. The Giants are thick as thieves with the Padres and the Dodgers. I'm flummoxed by Willie's ignorance or bias or what have you. Willie, that's got a sting, essentially being called a moron. How are your feelings doing?
Well, that question was spoken like a true Giants fan. Recent World Series, I think 2014 isn't exactly recent, but I'll tell you why I don't talk about the Giants very much. Yeah, they're in first place. I understand that, but I don't understand why they're able to be in first place. They're 15th in batting .235, 5th in ERA over 3.5. I don't know very much about the Giants, but I know there's just about every other guy on the team is named Brandon. And as far as what they can lead the league in, I think they lead the league in age. It seems like every one of their starters is over 30, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 guys. That's all I can know about the Giants.
Yeah, all right. Hey, guys, by the way, sorry, I'm on the move. Had to leave town for a little bit, so I had to call in. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why Giants fans are complaining. I mean, if they want to hear people talk about the Giants, why don't they start their own show and talk about them? You know, look, I don't care about the Padres or the Dodgers either, but yeah, I definitely don't care about the Giants. Yes, they're in first place, but nobody cares about them. And, you know, where I come from, if you got a problem with it, you solve it. And, you know, like I said, this is our show. We're going to talk about the teams that we want to talk about. And, you know, that's it. Have a chowder bowl. They look, the Giants aren't that good. I've said before that they may be for real. And, yeah, they're competitive. But Willie made a great point. I mean, there's a bunch of old guys on that team. You do kind of root for them a little bit because they don't have any big names, and that's another reason why we're talking about the Padres and the Dodgers, because they got huge superstars, and those are the guys we're going to talk about. So the Giants make the playoffs, sure, maybe we'll talk about them for a little bit, but I don't think we need to worry about them for now.
It's crazy. I was in the Bay Area in college back during the Giants reign and even the Niners reign, and they just love living in the past. I mean, we don't talk about the Giants. Bay Area is really a kind of a small San Francisco is really small. The area surrounding whatever, you still got the A's up there. I mean, just they're in their own bubble, just like their team. But I think Giants fans are just living in the past. They think about all the rings they've won and Super Bowls they've won, and the Super Bowls back from the 80s, 90s, where the Giants, like you said, 5 years ago, it's just like, get with the times. They're hot now, but they're gonna cool off.
Another thing, Ron, you know this as well as anyone. New York used to have two teams called the Giants. I believe they played across the street from each other, and it got super confusing because fans would actually go to the wrong stadium and get not only the wrong team but the wrong sport. So ultimately, what they ended up doing is they had to send one of those teams to the Bay Area, and that's the Giants team we're talking about right now.
Very, very good point, Larry. And I think that's the way we're going to end this conversation today. We are out of time, and I do want to thank everybody for tuning in or watching the show. Reminding everybody that you can always like and comment, subscribe to our show. If you have any questions, like the many that we've been receiving that you want to ask us, you can submit those questions to the sportsonthespot@gmail.com, or else just ask in the comment section of our YouTube channel. That's going to be it for today's show. Thanks to everybody for watching, and we'll see you all next time.
Unbelievable.